The SEAL commander's voice was cold and final. "No one can make that shot." But Staff Sergeant Nicole Hayes didn't flinch. She kept her cheek pressed to the rifle's stock, emerald green eyes locked on her target. Inside her mind, numbers began to align: wind speed, bullet drop, humidity, air pressure. It wasn't confidence. It wasn't arrogance. It was certainty. If she succeeded, the entire war could shift in less than 15 seconds. Nicole crouched low behind a jagged rock formation, her body hidden beneath a camouflage ghillie suit that blended into the dusty sun-baked terrain. Her jet black hair was pulled into a tight bun beneath her hood, no loose strands to betray her position. Her breathing was slow, controlled. In her hands rested a Barrett M82 sniper rifle, a weapon capable of extreme range engagements, but not at the distance she was about to attempt. To the 8-man Navy SEAL team surrounding her, Nicole was just the Army sniper, someone sent to provide overwatch for their reconnaissance mission. What they didn't know was that Nicole Hayes wasn't just a skilled marksman, she was the military's most closely guarded secret. For 5 years, she had operated in the shadows, her missions buried deep in classified archives. Her call sign, Shadow. It wasn't just a nickname, it was a warning. Shadow had ended 23 high-value targets in a single deployment without a single enemy soldier ever spotting her. Marines spoke her name with awe. Army Rangers lowered their voices when they talked about her. Even Delta Force operators, the kind of men who thought they'd seen everything, showed respect. But today, she was working with Navy SEALs who didn't know they were in the presence of the deadliest precision shooter alive. Nicole's talent didn't come from training alone. She was born into a world of numbers and precision. Her father, Dr. William Hayes, was a ballistics engineer who designed advanced weapon systems. Her mother, Professor Catherine Hayes, taught applied physics at MIT, while other children played outside. Nicole spent her evenings at the kitchen table, running calculations on bullet trajectories and learning how gravity, wind, and even the Earth's rotation could change a shot. She grew up solving problems most soldiers wouldn't even understand, and now, on a rocky hillside thousands of miles from home, all of that knowledge was about to be tested. That morning's mission had seemed simple enough. Intelligence reported a meeting of top enemy commanders inside a fortified compound deep in hostile territory. The orders were clear: watch, gather intelligence. No shots fired. From their hidden position, the building was nearly 2,200 yards away, far beyond the range of standard military sniping. For 3 hours, the SEAL team observed in silence, taking notes on guard rotations, patrol patterns, and defensive structures. And then, Nicole saw them. 3 men in distinctive military uniforms stood near the windows of the compound's upper floor. Their body language, the maps on the table in front of them, the way guards lingered outside that room, everything screamed high-value targets. Through her high-powered scope, Nicole recognized them immediately from classified briefings. 3 enemy generals, the kind of men whose deaths could end an entire war. Commander Blake Reaper Thompson, the SEAL team leader, relayed the sighting to Joint Special Operations Command. The reply came back fast: if you can eliminate them simultaneously, you're cleared to proceed. Priority Alpha. Thompson scanned the distance with his binoculars. His jaw tightened. Range is impossible. We'd have to move at least 8 yards closer, and if we move closer, we'll be spotted and surrounded. Nicole didn't hesitate. "Sir, I can make the shot." Thompson turned to face her, his expression a mix of disbelief and irritation. "Hayes, that's over 2,200 yards. The world record is barely more than that, and that was one shot, under perfect conditions. You're talking about 3 kills, in seconds, at extreme range. It's impossible." Nicole's voice was calm, almost casual. "It's not impossible, sir. It just requires a different kind of math." For a moment, Thompson just stared at her, trying to read the expression behind her words. He had worked with the world's best snipers, Marine Scout snipers, Army Special Forces, CIA paramilitary shooters, and none of them would have dared to make such a claim. But something in Nicole's tone wasn't arrogance. It was certainty, and in her mind, the calculations had already begun. Commander Thompson crouched beside Nicole, the desert wind tugging at his camouflage netting. His eyes narrowed as he looked through her spotting scope. There they were, 3 enemy generals in plain sight, standing by the windows as if they owned the battlefield. At this distance, they might as well have been on another planet. "No conventional weapon can reach them from here," Thompson muttered. "Even if it could, the wind alone would throw the shot off by feet." Nicole's voice stayed calm. "Sir, I've made harder shots." Thompson almost laughed, but her expression stopped him. It wasn't bravado, it was the face of someone who already knew the outcome. While the SEALs whispered over distances and wind drift, Nicole's mind was somewhere else entirely, deep inside a world of mathematics and physics. Ground wind, 12 miles per hour, coming from the northwest. Altitude difference between shooter and target, roughly 100 feet. Temperature, 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity, 31%. Atmospheric pressure, slightly higher than sea level. To most soldiers, those were just numbers. To Nicole, they were the language of the bullets. Journey, a journey she could read like a map. She quietly flipped open a small, weatherproof notebook from her pack. Inside, the pages were filled with calculations, diagrams, and strange equations most snipers wouldn't even understand. It wasn't standard Army ballistics data. This was something else, a personal codebook built over years of real-world shooting at ranges other people thought impossible. Thompson watched her work. Hayes, if you miss even one shot, the mission is blown. They'll lock down the whole region. Our intel pipeline here will vanish overnight. Nicole didn't even look up, understood completely. Sir, and if I'm captured, this mission never happened. That was the reality of black operations. No backup, no medals, no record, just you, your weapon, and the job. For a moment, Thompson weighed his options. Everything in his training screamed that this was reckless. His best SEAL sniper wouldn't even dream of attempting one shot at this range, let alone three, back-to-back, against moving human targets. But Nicole Hayes was different. He didn't know her full story. He didn't know why Admiral James Mitchell himself had personally ordered her inclusion on this mission. All he knew was the steel in her voice when she said she could do it. Finally, he gave the order that went against every line of the SEAL handbook. Take the shots. Nicole didn't hesitate. Her body moved into position like a machine. Precise, fluid, deliberate. She adjusted her scope's elevation, dialed the windage, then made tiny, almost invisible corrections to account for something no one else on the team even thought about: the Coriolis effect, the subtle influence of Earth's rotation on a bullet traveling over extreme distance. Most snipers never consider it. Nicole calculated it without thinking. Through her scope, the world narrowed to one perfect image: the three generals, lit by the afternoon sun, completely unaware that their lives were now measured in seconds. General Rashid Almansh, the mastermind behind multiple deadly attacks. General Omar Khalil, the logistics commander who kept enemy forces supplied. General Faisal al-Sarrani, the intelligence chief who knew every coalition movement. Take them out, and the enemy wouldn't just lose 3 leaders. They'd lose their entire war plan. Nicole steadied her breathing, her heart rate slowing to an almost unnatural rhythm. This was her element. This was why they called her Shadow. In just a few seconds, she was going to do something no sniper had ever done before. Not in training, not in combat, not in history, and in her mind, the math was already perfect. The air was still, even the wind seemed to pause, as if the desert itself knew something extraordinary was about to happen. Nicole's voice came through the radio comm, steady, and without a hint of doubt. Range, 2,247 yards. 3. Targets, atmospheric conditions, optimal, engaging in 15 seconds. Every SEAL froze. All eyes shifted to her position. They had no idea they were about to witness history. Second one. Nicole's crosshairs locked on General Al-Manshuri, the first target. He stood closest to the left window, his hands moving over a large tactical map. Nicole calculated the holdover. For the bullet's 420-inch drop, the wind drift of exactly 19 inches, and the slight upward angle from her position. She exhaled halfway, held her breath, and squeezed the trigger. The Barrett M82 thundered, its .50 caliber round, leaving the barrel at nearly 2,910 feet per second. In the 2.4 seconds it took to cross the battlefield, the bullet fought gravity, wind, and even the Earth's rotation, then slammed into Al-Manshuri's head with surgical precision. Second. 4. Before the first general's body even hit the floor, Nicole shifted her aim. General Khalil, startled by the noise, had turned toward his fallen comrade, exposing a perfect profile. Her left hand made the tiniest adjustment to the windage knob. The second shot cracked through the air. Khalil dropped instantly, the life gone from his eyes before he even realized what had happened. Second 9, only one target remained, and this one was moving. General al-Sarrani dove for cover, instincts screaming that they were under sniper attack. This was the hardest shot of all. Nicole had to lead the target, calculating not just his movement speed and direction, but how far he would get in the 2.4 seconds it would take the bullet to arrive. She moved her crosshairs ahead of him, not too far, not too little, then fired. The round smashed through the glass and found its mark. Al-Sarrani fell mid-step, the momentum of his run carrying him a few feet before he crumpled to the floor. Total time, 12.3 seconds. Result, 3 enemy generals eliminated. Range, 2,247 yards. Commander Thompson lowered his spotting scope slowly, as if trying to make sure his eyes hadn't just lied to him. Unbelievable, whispered Chief Williams. 343. She actually did it. Nicole didn't smile, didn't celebrate. She simply began breaking down her rifle, every movement efficient, rehearsed, and silent. The mission wasn't over. Enemy security would swarm the compound in minutes. Into her radio, Nicole's voice was as calm as when she'd begun. Confirmed elimination of all high-value targets. Recommending immediate withdrawal to Extraction Point Alpha. The team moved fast. No words, no wasted motion. Every man knew the enemy would already be reacting. Somewhere in that compound, alarms were blaring. Commander Thompson signaled for a staggered withdrawal. 2 SEALs took point, scanning ahead for enemy patrols, while others covered the flanks. Nicole stayed near the rear, her rifle now packed into its tactical case, her eyes still sweeping the horizon through her smaller spotting scope. Behind them, black smoke was starting to rise. Over the compound, 3 bodies lay inside, 3 generals who, hours ago, believed they were untouchable. As they wound through the rocky hills toward the extraction point, Thompson found himself falling into step beside her. For most of the trek, he said nothing. Finally, at a brief halt behind a ridge, he turned to her. "Hayes, I've been in special operations for 16 years. I've worked with the best shooters this military has ever produced. What I saw today doesn't happen. It's not possible." Nicole glanced at him, her expression unreadable. "With respect, sir, possible is just a word for people who haven't tried hard enough." Thompson smirked, despite himself. "Who are you, really?" Nicole tightened the strap on her pack. "Officially, Staff Sergeant Nicole Hayes, Army Sniper, here to provide reconnaissance support." Unofficially, she paused. "I'm the reason enemy commanders don't sleep well at night." They resumed the march. By the time the extraction helicopter came into view, the sun was low, bathing the hills in gold. The rotor wash kicked up sand as they loaded in, the noise drowning out everything except the pounding in their ears from the day's events. As the bird lifted off, Thompson leaned closer, his voice almost lost in the engine roar. "What's your actual longest confirmed kill?" Nicole's lips curved into the faintest smile. "That's classified, sir, but let's just say today wasn't my record." 3 months later, intelligence confirmed what they'd suspected. The death of the 3 generals had shattered the enemy's command structure. Without their leaders, the network crumbled into scattered, powerless cells. Coalition forces advanced unopposed. The war in that region was effectively over. Nicole received no medal, no public recognition. Her personnel file still listed her as a routine Army sniper, but in the classified archives of Special Operations Command, the operation was recorded as one of the most strategically important sniper engagements in modern history. Commander Thompson was promoted to lieutenant commander. In training lectures, he would sometimes pause, look at a group of young SEAL snipers, and say, "Don't ever let anyone tell you a shot's impossible. I've seen it done." Nicole Hayes returned to the shadows. Other missions followed, the kind of missions that officially never happened. Targets who thought they were safe learned otherwise, and somewhere, whispered only among those with the clearance to know. Her call sign lived on, Shadow, because sometimes, the difference between impossible and inevitable is just the right person pulling the trigger.